how do you actually bring something up to your partner without it immediately turning into a whole thing? You know what I mean by a whole thing, right? You start with, hey, I just wanted to talk about something small, and 45 minutes later, you're both sitting in separate rooms wondering how you got onto the topic of that one Thanksgiving a few years back. So let's get into it. The real problem isn't what you're fighting about. The first thing I want you to hear, because I think this reframes everything, is that most couples aren't fighting because they have big unsolvable problems. They're fighting because of how the conversation started. The content is like 10% of it. The delivery is everything. Think about it. You can say, this room is warm, and it's just a fact. Or you can say, why is it always so hot in here? I've said this 100 times. And suddenly it's a whole personality attack. Same information, but a different landing. So, step one, before you even open your mouth, is asking yourself, what is the actual outcome I want here? Because if the answer is, I want to feel heard, and I want us to fix this together, great, we can work on that. But if the answer is honestly, I want them to feel bad for what they did, then you're not starting a conversation, you're starting a trial. And nobody wins a trial with the person they sleep next to. Okay, part two, pick your moment like it actually matters. All right, this one might sound obvious, yet almost nobody does it. Timing is everything. Do not bring up a real issue when either of you is hungry, tired, or already stressed about something else. I know that sounds like you're waiting for a perfect window, but that might never come. But I'm not saying wait forever. I'm saying don't walk up to your partner when they just got home from a brutal day, still got their coat on, and go, so I've been thinking about us. That's not a conversation starter. That's an ambush. What actually works is just asking literally, hey, is now a good time to talk about something? It's not an emergency, but it's been on my mind. That's it. Couple seconds. What that does is it gives your partner a chance to mentally prepare instead of going straight into defense mode. And it signals that you're coming in calm, which matters more than most people realize. Next one, how you start determines how it ends. There's this concept in relationship psychology, and I'm not going to nerd out too much here, but basically the research shows that in most arguments, you can predict how it's going to end within the first 3 minutes based on how it opened. They call it the harsh startup versus the soft startup. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The harsh startup sounds like, you never think about how your stuff affects me. And the soft startup sounds like, hey, I've been feeling kind of disconnected lately and I wanted to talk about it. One of those sentences invites your partner into a conversation. The other one hands them a weapon and dares them to swing back. The framework I actually use, and this is one that I'd write on a sticky note if I were you, because you need reminders, is what I feel, what I noticed, what I need. So instead of you never help around the house, it becomes I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately, and I notice that I'm usually handling dinner and maybe like the cleanup by myself, and I just need us to figure out a way to split that up more evenly. Same issue, but one of those sounds like an accusation and one sounds like a human being asking for help from someone they trust. All right, also, stay in the present tense. This is the one thing that kills most long-term couples because when you've been together for a while, you have history, you have receipts, so to speak. And the moment a conversation starts going sideways, the instinct is to pull from the archive. Well, this is just like what you did last summer. No, stop. Put the archive away. When you go historical, the other person stops hearing the current problem and starts defending their entire character across the whole span of your relationship. Now you're not talking about dishes or scheduling or whatever the actual issue was. You're reliving years of grievances and nobody even remembers what started it. One issue at a time, stay in the present. If there are other things that need to be addressed, they should get their own conversation. All right, and finally, Give your partner room to actually respond. This one's subtle, but it's important. After you say your piece, stop talking and give them a real moment to respond without jumping back in. A lot of us, when we've been building up the courage to have a hard conversation, we've rehearsed it so many times in our head that when we have our next 3 sentences ready, before they've even finished reacting. And that's when the other person starts to feel like the conversation isn't really a conversation. It's a presentation they didn't ask to sit through. You said your thing, now actually listen. Not just waiting for your turn, actually listen. Because most of the time when your partner feels genuinely heard, the defensiveness drops. And then you're finally having the real conversation.